It is therefore an object of some utility and importance for a man to acquire a dexterity in boxing, in order to defend himself against such rudeness and to protect those whose weakness, age, or sex renders them liable to the insults of the rabble, and deprives them of all power of effectual resistance.
Hey folks, it's Chris Dyer here at Reborn Martial Arts in Springfield, Virginia, and we are continuing on with our series, Pugilism Through Time, A History of Boxing. This is The Art of Manual Defense by Anonymous, a pupil of both Humphreys and Mendoza from the year 1789. Let's take a look at it. So this is just a quick warning. The content in these historical sources display a belief structure that was common to the day. Disparaging remarks about people's social and economic status is not something that we condone or try and glorify in these videos, but as a historian we try and stay as accurate as possible to displaying history as is, so that we can learn from it and learn from mistakes of the past. Okay, so The Art of Manual Defense by an anonymous pupil of both Humphreys and Mendoza from 1789. So the time frame that we're looking at, the United States officially becomes a country and the Napoleonic Wars start. This manual begins by some disparaging remarks against the lower order of man, the phrase that he's going to use a couple times throughout this intro. Not something that we condone, but something that he does say. So what this anonymous source is saying is that this the behavior of the lower order, it can't be stopped. It can't be dealt with by the laws of our age. That in order to stop the ill-behaved, the gross behavior or the insolence of the lower order of man, we would have to strip free peoples of the rights that are held up by the British Constitution, basically. The boast and glory of the British Constitution is his quote. So we have option A, take away people's rights and just start imprisoning, and he's not clear as to what else that leads to, but it's probably not good things. Or option B is what he recommends in this manual, is for the genteel class. And we need to quick look at what genteel means. It doesn't mean gentle as in soft, kind. It means coming from the root word gene, as in given birth to or born with, the people that were born with funds, resources, lands, this sort of thing. So it's very, very much a class dichotomy going on here. And he says the genteel people, the ones that were born into wealth, need to learn how to toughen up, learn how to box, learn how to defend the innocent, defend the weak, defend people that can't take care of themselves through personal combat, by personal chastisement is what he says. So this is his means of getting out how to box. He's a student of these famous boxers. These are the methods that these people would learn to box. If you learn to box, we can keep society in order. And again, going back to the fact that he's an anonymous source, this would be clearly someone that was wealthy, well-to-do, connected in social circles where you don't want to say, yeah, I promote boxing as this low-class thing, but now they're putting out this manual anonymously promoting boxing as a genteel thing that we can keep the social order together with. So it's a really interesting sort of look into the past. A lot of social and economic things are obviously on the tip of people's minds with the Napoleonic Wars and the dawn of the American dream and all this fun stuff happening. So let's take a look at what he says and let's see some of this history. All right, let's look at Chapter 1, Standing on Your Guard. First, he does a couple quick little notes suggesting that, one, when you're working with a partner, so that alone automatically sets this apart from a lot of the other stuff besides Mendoza's work that we've looked at, where you're, oh my goodness, look at this, training with partners. This is a crucial part of what we're now looking at. Mendoza kind of set us up for this idea of working with partners, doing partner drills, and now we're going into actual training with partners. So when you're working with partners, he does recommend wearing gloves. These are not boxing gloves that we think of today. What he recommends is like almost like leather work gloves, but with extra padding around the knuckles so that if you do make contact, you're not just completely smashing your partners each time. And then when you're working free play and whatnot with your partners, you're not intentionally going for solar plexus, the mark or the button, which is straight blows straight onto the face. So he's actually setting up some safety parameters for practicing, which you know, if you train long enough, you want to make sure that you're just not constantly broken, constantly bruised and whatnot. Next, he goes on to explain the different styles of boxing guards. And this is actually really interesting. He says different boxers have different guards. Thank you for explaining that to us, right? So, you know, this seems like, yeah, this is obvious to a lot of people. But if you think about it, at the time, we came out of what I call the fencing method of boxing, where you're very much like you're fencing and you're stepping in and doing this strike. Humphreys changes it over to a left guard stance, so you're driving forward with the opposite side, reserving your power hand for your rear. And then Mendoza changes up entirely, but by stating that different boxers have different stances, it kind of frees us up to understand, like, do what works for you and be fluid in your movements as needed, right? So it's not just this monolithic, we always take this one stance, that we can change it up, we can change around. Again, we started seeing that with Mendoza, be equal on both sides, and now it's being very explicit that you can change your guards. The next thing, he goes into the two boxing instructors' guards that he trained under, so Humphreys and Mendoza, again, the two most influential boxers of his age. So the Humphreys guard, back weighted, hands much further out, extending out this direction, and then again, that style that we've looked at from our previous, like, early videos of driving in with this lead left and then reserving this rear hand for your strike. And then he compares that to Mendoza, which is, again, much closer, more squared up, in tighter and tilted forward so that the solar plexus is bent back. And then you can fight equally on both sides, which is obviously Mendoza's style. He says he recommends Mendoza's guard more, simply because Humphrey's guard leaves a lot of your face open over here, and with the hands further out, it's harder to get back to this block. But he does recommend or suggest both of those guards. So let's look at the actual lessons and how they work. We're going to go over some just basic blocks and strikes. All right, so let's take a look at the actual boxing method. So we're going to cover lesson 1 today, and our next couple of videos we'll cover a couple more of the lessons. This will be about 2 or 3 part video series. So Mike is going to take his Mendoza guard. So again, Mendoza's guard is less of an elongated stance, so a little bit more close in, about 1.5 foot distance from the feet apart. Your hips are less bladed, but more tilted forward, so that both hands are mostly equal. You're not in a long guard, you're in about a middle guard, so kind of middle guard. Okay, so from here, my job as the instructor is simply to punch Mike in the face, is what we're all here for. Mike is up on guard, and I'm going to send one down his center line. So he wants to avoid this as much as possible. He wants to be moving to the sides, tilting, moving around, right? So as I throw one down the center line, he's going to cover like so. So the description is take the fist, bring it up here by your ear, covering the side of your head. Elbow is in line with your wrist. So we're shooting like so. So I do my lead hand jab, he's going to cover like so. I do my rear hand, he can move offline and cover. In this case, he can do a follow-up strike this way. Then if I do my hook around this direction, he does the same thing on the other side. I can blast this direction, I can do my chopper, and he's coming in and blocking it. So this first lesson is Mike does, it's not Mike, the student, who's Mike in this case, does the blocks. And it's just cover, 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 cover. I'm going to do strikes. So it's here, cover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So what he actually describes in this is actually, the first time we get this, is a regimented system for training. All right, so this is a big step forward. Mendoza kind of started it with his lessons, but he recommends you got to train this stuff, you got to drill this stuff, you got to drill it hard. And so what he describes is do this drill exactly as we set up. You're going to do it until Mike's tired, and then you're going to reset and you're going to do it again, and you're going to do it again, and you're going to do it again. This repetition builds it into muscle memory, which, you know, if you do any sort of sports training, even today, we still do this. So he's actually recommending athletic training for your boxing, which we have not yet seen. So Mike's on guard. We're going to do 3 sets of this. We'll do 10s. 1, 2, responding naturally. So he's not guessing. He's just going based on what I give him. We reset, and then we go again. So we just keep going until Mike can't stand it anymore, and we call it a day. All right, so that is lesson number 1. Join us for the next video. We're going to cover a couple more of the lessons. We'll see where we can get, and then we'll let you guys know what's coming up next. Thanks. If you're enjoying this, like, subscribe, share, comment with your questions below, and we'll see you next time.